to be honest, I wasn't even sure that I wanted to keep creating content after everything that happened in 2020. I think that moving 7 times would probably do that to anyone. You start questioning your own sense of confidence and sanity, and if you're on the right path, like, what's the point, you know? Am I heading in the right direction? That these obstacles keep coming up, and then the questions start coming. And everyone's asking, what's next for you? What's your next move? What are you going to do? And, you know, I didn't even have the answers for those questions myself, let alone for other people. I had no idea what I wanted, no idea what that looked like, and I never really sat down and thought about like what I really wanted. What did I want to build? What were my dreams? What were my goals? And when I started thinking about it, it was really scary because it was really big and it felt kind of impossible. And part of all of that moving that I did and in the end of 2020 was because I was searching. I didn't know exactly what I was searching for. I knew that I was searching for water, and I knew that I was searching for a space that I could potentially call my own, and thinking that I could partner with someone on their space and have it feel like my own, but it just never really landed the way that I was wanting it to. And so I got real with myself over the last few months. As you know, I've been gone for a while from just creating like everlasting media in the sense of this like YouTube stuff, right? And so I sat down and decided, like, I need to write this down. I need to get really clear about what I want, like what's important to me, what sort of things I'm looking for, what the big dream that I can think of looks like. And even if it feels too big, like still write it down and see, you know, what pops up. And a funny thing happens when you start writing stuff down. It starts presenting itself in ways that maybe you might not notice at first. But when something clicks, yeah, the feeling that I have about this next project that I'm embarking on and that I'm about to share with the world, whatever part of the world watches me, I guess, right? The feeling that I have about this project is very different than anything I've ever felt before. It's very connected in ways that I've been looking for. I think I've had several people ask me, like, how do you find these sorts of opportunities? And I think that the answer is just, it's a combination of like knowing what you want, being willing to write it down and say like, this is what I want, and hold that fear that it might not actually happen, but at least like pronounce this is what I want. And then looking at the people and projects who cross your path through that lens and asking for what you want in those sorts of situations and seeing if there's not alignment there. And if there's alignment there, then it's like, oh, okay, let's keep moving forward and see where this goes. And so, yeah, the opportunity has presented itself. I have no idea what's going to come next, but I feel like I'm ready to share it again. It's a little bit overwhelming because last time I was here, there was not really a road, not like this. I mean, yeah,
we did quite a bit of work on the roadway to get down here.
We did a lot of work on this road. Like it was literally just a chasm from the water running down it. Now starting to look like a road. I might actually get my car down in here. The joys of homeownership, I suppose.
There you go.
And having really good neighbors. It's kind of weird going from being like, I wouldn't say homeless, but like home free to having 1.5 houses. So it's going to be a fun adventure landscaping this space for sure, to have my own garden space blending into a space that's going to be a really cool rental at some point in the near future. My own home, my first home. Deep in the holler.
Deep in the holler. You got that right, I think.
Deep in the holler. Atlas, you come in?
Lieutenants, please prepare for takeoff.
I never thought that I'd want my own place. Just never in a million years. It was too much responsibility. I guess we all grow up at some point. So many cool mosses. All these ferns. Oh, it's very peaceful. Look at the little baby mushroom. Little Amanita muscaria. It's pretty potent. So yeah, I've been here a couple of days, doing a lot of cleanup, and by here I mean this is my first home ever. Like I never thought I wanted a home. I'm really distracted by this beautiful spider right now. But yeah, I never thought I wanted a home that was my own, but I've had to like deal with all of home ownership stuff. And then I came to Tennessee and I saw this waterfall that I'll show you in a minute, and I decided I wanted a waterfall. So I bought a home because that was the only way I could have the waterfall, right? But yeah, it needs a lot of cleanup. It needs some repair. I think that this gardening channel may become a little DIY sometimes. I have water and my own space that I'm not ever going to have to leave unless I want to. And now everyone who's like, can you show us what happened before 6 months later or a year later? It's like, yeah, we can do that now. So this is going to be a really fun landscaping project. We're going to walk you around the grounds to see what's going on here, what sort of my wild big vision is. I have friends and neighbors that are helping. My friend that's behind the camera right now is the tractor guy, construction logistics, and we're going to make something really cool happen. Very excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. I am more energized than I felt in years. And this is all of the space that I want to do a little bit of landscaping. Oh, I love it. I love the amount of shade I'm working with too. I think that's going to be really important. And so I remember, so I came out here one other time back in, I think it was March. And well, yeah, and I hadn't really said anything beyond, hey, I'm just checking the spot out, because I didn't want to get my hopes up, get anyone else's hopes up until I felt really sure about it. But I remember on this horseshoe, I don't see them right now, so they might have gotten in the first brush hogging. But on this horseshoe, there was a ton of just like American elderberry all along this. It's probably like, see all this stumpy stuff? It's probably that got hacked. But the great thing about elderberry is it just grows right back up if you mow it. So it'll be, there's stuff like that I want to do, you know, where I get into these spaces and I go, okay, we have swamp milkweed and we have, you know, this coneflower and various things. I know what ecological functions they serve, and so those definitely get to stay. Elderberry definitely gets to stay, and then learning what these other plants are, and you know, are they serving a function of keeping, all the roots are keeping the soil where it's at, because as we've seen, like the water does flow up over this horseshoe, but we don't want it to be washing out all of this. Yeah. So we got to keep some plants in here, right? Obviously the trees. But like, yeah, just sort of maintaining what exists and making it walkable, explorable. These little like wild grapevines. So yeah, it'll be, when I say landscaping, it's less of digging in new stuff and more of working with what's there, and then maybe finding some stuff that could exist I really want to plant hazelnuts. I love the way that the sun just comes through this little forest, and it's so exciting to, like, my property is what, it stops kind of on this tree line, right? It
Yep.
angles out there, and then this comes into, I guess it goes up a little bit more, but this comes into the rental cabin property. And to be able to do this sort of cohesive landscaping across 2.5 acres, 3 acres, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Because then it's not what I'm working on butting up against the techniques and methods of the neighbor, because I am the neighbor, but not, I mean, I'm not the human neighbor there, but I am the neighbor groundskeeper. And it just makes me want to like take care of more and more and more space, but a little bit at a time, right? I've already bit off probably more than I can chew. As we move up towards the other property here, you'll notice that like the terrain gets a little more steep, and so one of the things that I really enjoy doing is, or that I've enjoyed doing in my head so far, and done a little in person, is getting in some rock work, working in some terracing, and partially for accessibility and partially just for looks. Like, I like the idea of working with rock. There's a lot of rock out here, and so not only do I have a huge project that I'm taking on, but I'm adding a huge projects on top of huge projects on top of huge projects. Like, this isn't even the entire project right here. There's the cabin, the rental space that we'll be working on. And the dream here is really to, it's the same dream that I've had for a couple of years now, but it's really to create like a foodscape that you can explore with a lot of perennial plants, native nuts and berries and flowers, and just a really beautiful spot to like walk around and see what's possible when you work with your landscape as opposed to against it. There's so many, I think they're violet. I love working with those. It's nice too because even though we're in the south, it's not like super humid or muggy because we're at 1,500 feet.
We are.
So it's like always kind of cool in the shade. It's like, it's 90 out in the sun and it's probably, I don't know, 65 in the shade. It feels bigger because it's not a big flat property.
Yeah.
And I can just, as we're walking around, I can see like, oh, you know, there's a nice little spot for a cooking patio, or like just a random rock that you can set in the sun to like lounge lizard on it. Like, I'll have time to just lounge around, but it's fun for other people because I come and lounge. There's a lot to do, a lot to be done. There's been the few people that I've told about this space, worrying about me being that close to a waterfall.
Yeah.
And some of them seeing like how high the water comes and knowing what the climate's doing in terms of like flooding and these just unpredictable sort of storms. But this has been rising and falling like 10, 15 feet for
forever. A long time.
And one of the things that I tried to pay attention to in terms of when I was looking to move to someplace where I felt like I could grow with as much water as growing requires was the elevation shift for the case of flooding, because a lot of places that have water have flooding problems, right? And so because we're at a high elevation and then it drops down pretty quickly.
It does.
It even drops, I want to say, like from, babies, that is rough. From the waterfall to here, it drops down at least 12 feet.
Yeah,
so
it does.
moves out very quickly. 15-foot drop right here.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize though. So you guys have been doing so much work here the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, we got the road, right?
Got the road done. We got
And then all of these branches. Even when you're in the hauler, if you're trying to get homeowner's insurance, you got to do the cleanup. And it's not always like what the forest wants in that moment. It's more like what the insurance company wants. You know, you're still living with the land, but part of living with the land is being able to keep clearance around where you live so that it doesn't burn down in case of a forest fire. I just can imagine, you know, like I've done getting away for a weekend and just going out into the woods and having a spot to decompress and think my thoughts and just get another breath to keep going through the workday. And I can imagine just like standing on this balcony or this deck with a cup of coffee and looking out over this and just taking a breath, like listening to the water over at my spot that's right across the way. And you can hear the waterfall all the way over here. And it's so peaceful, it's so relaxing. And there's all of the space to walk around in the woods and, you know, just really be out in the middle of nowhere with yourself and your thoughts and a beautiful landscape. Like, I can't ask for anything more than this. I mean, I could, but it would be pretty selfish. This is a good place to start things. And I'm just really grateful for the amount of help getting it prepared when I'm not able to move until a month from now. And then we're going to start cranking on all of this stuff.
We are.
So just getting in the infrastructure, the road, the brush removal so that we can get insured, and the cleaning out these spaces because there was still stuff left behind from the previous tenants. Like, it's a lot and it's getting handled. And after all of the moving and trials and tribulations that I've been through, to feel like I have that level of support is just, oh. I am standing on my own dirt. I never would have, now you're gonna make me emotional. Like, I never would have anticipated wanting to have something, or even being able to get something, like to be able to steward a piece of property. Never in my wildest, like, I'm looking forward to honoring this space and protecting this water with my life.